let's get started. We have a great panel consisting of three faculty members from the University of Louisville Libraries, Melissa Lanning, Tiffney Gipson-Goodwin, and Latisha Reynolds. And I'm going to leave it up to them to present their individual bios. We will be going for about 45 minutes. And then to allow 15 minutes at the end for questions. So take it away. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you to Dianne and Julie for introducing us and helping us to stay on track with this presentation. We really appreciate that. And we also really appreciate people who are here on a Friday afternoon at the end of the Institute on a spring day. I think it says a lot about your commitment to the profession and this topic. So we are all from the University of Louisville Libraries. I'm Melissa Lanning. We are from the University of Louisville. We have been here for varying amounts of time. And have pretty different career arcs. And we just agreed kind of offline that we would sort of introduce ourselves as we, during our respective sections of the presentation. So for a little bit about me, I'm Melissa Lanning. I've been here, I'd even hate to say how long I've been here. My current position is Associate Dean. I started out as a cataloger and have been in assessment programs. I've had a very, very varied career in the years that I've been here. And I think relevant to this particular presentation, I am also one of the co-facilitators of our library faculty mentoring program. So with that, I think we could go to the next screen. For a little background on this presentation, Latisha, Tiffney, and I came together in the summer of 2019 to talk about a research project on mentoring. It's a shared interest of ours. We've each done, actual work in the libraries as well as publishing and presentation on that topic. And our conversations, as they evolved, they kind of quickly coalesced around the mentoring needs of BIPOC colleagues and how to provide successful mentoring experiences in a profession that continues to be dominated by whiteness in terms of demographics, organizational structures, and professional norms. Based on some previous work that Tiffney had done related to the mentoring needs of millennials, we were also interested in the structures of mentoring programs and how well they served our millennial and now Gen Z colleagues. As a result of these initial conversations, we decided to conduct a study of what we term cross-cultural mentoring experiences in order to understand what factors contributed to success in those relationships. We conducted a survey followed up by interviews to learn more about the topic, and that work forms the basis of our program today. Just as a point of reference and some definitions, we define cross-cultural mentoring relationships as one where the participants were from different racial, ethnic, or cultural groups. As a result of conducting this research project, the definition of inclusive mentoring came to mean for us a space where colleagues can confidentially and authentically discuss the challenges that they face in their professional lives, and that's for anybody, but for BIPOC librarians in particular, this means it being in a relationship where the specific issues that they face, such as implicit bias, microaggressions, gaslighting, and on, are not ignored or further reinforced by the other person in the relationship. During our program today, we are going to briefly share some of our research findings, and through some polls and then discussion at the end, we will hopefully engage you around some of the themes that emerged from our work. Finally, as a shameless plug, if you would like to learn more about our research, we published an article in the Journal of Academic Librarianship last December entitled Camaraderie and Connection. And now Tiffney's going to take us.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiffney Gipson-Goodwin. I am the Associate Director for the Kornhauser Health Sciences Library at the University of Louisville. I have been with the university for 19 years and have served in various capacities throughout that time, starting from a student assistant all the way up to the current position I have now, which is Associate Director. And mentoring is extremely important to me. I always say that I would not have gotten this far in my career, of course, with the skills I have, but also without good mentors that have been put in my path. So just want to say I'm honored today to do this presentation with both my formal and my informal mentor. They've had a great impact on my journey as a librarian. So with that said, I'll go into my slide. So before we get into our research and our subsequent findings, we'd like to get some idea of what your personal experience has been with cross-cultural mentoring. In our initial study, we had the opportunity to learn a lot about our participants. We asked them approximately 30 questions to get a sense of their demographics, career levels, goals, mentoring experiences, satisfaction with the process, and then also what factors may have contributed to their overall satisfaction with the relationship. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all 30 of those survey questions with you today. I know you're really sad about that. So instead, we pulled together just 5 simple questions that we'd like you to respond to regarding your experience with cross-cultural mentoring. Before we share the poll questions, let's make sure we are all on the same page when it relates to the terminology around mentoring. So Melissa already covered the terms cross-cultural mentoring and inclusive mentoring, so I won't revisit those again. Instead, I want to highlight 2 terms that we frequently hear when we discuss mentoring, and those terms are mentor and mentee. And mentors are generally those who have the most experience within the institution. And then the term mentee refers to individuals who have the least amount of experience in the institution. Mentees are also sometimes referred to as proteges. With those terms in mind, and again, reflecting on your own personal experiences, let's look at our first set of questions. So you'll need your phone for this one, all right? You take your phones out, use your camera app or the designated QR app on your phone and scan the QR code. And you should be able to join our survey in real time. And I'll leave that up for just a moment to give people a chance. And you should just see a welcome screen. So if you got into a welcome screen, you're in the right place. And if anyone's monitoring the chat, if you can see if anybody's having any issues, I'll kind of give them just another minute, just make sure they're in.
One of the questions is, what if you were on your phone? What if you're zooming on from your phone? You probably
Can't do it if you're zooming from your phone.
And then also we have a request to share the survey that you gave.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we could do that I think we can do that. Yes. Okay. Other than that, I'm going to trust that all others are in, so I'll move ahead with the questions. So question 1, identify my ethnicity as, and you have about 30 seconds to get that in. And I'll just say now, if you ever need to change your answer, there's a button at the bottom of the screen that allows you to clear and change your response. Have just a couple more seconds. Okay, seeing our poll results there. So kind of divided a little equally here in various parts. So Melissa, have you had a chance to take that down?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next question. This one is your gender. I identify my gender as. We got a couple more. Yeah, I was wondering if we had any males with us today. Okay, so our results show that we're mostly female in the group today. Okay. Have you ever participated in a cross-cultural mentoring experience? So far, it's like about 50-50. Okay. All right, we should be getting, the results are clear. We should get those results in just a second, but. So we're about 50-50 on that, all right? And if you answered yes to that last question, did you participate as the mentor or the mentee? Okay, a lot of mentors in the group today. That's good. Oh, I got a mentee, okay. Oh, well, they changed their mind. So it looks like mostly mentors, okay. And then moving on to our final question in this set. Now, reflecting on that experience, would you please rate your satisfaction level? It looks like we got some very satisfied and some kind of in the middle. Okay, I'll leave those here for just a moment. So we chose these questions for a couple of reasons. First, we wanted to give you some idea of what our initial survey was like and the kind of data that we were collecting from our participants. And then secondly, we wanted to use questions that correlated with overall satisfaction levels. So I'll turn it back over to my colleague, Melissa, now to talk more about our research findings.
Okay, so I've taken some quick notes on your responses, and without going into too much detail, I would say that they track pretty well with the responses that we got on the survey that we put out. And we didn't say this before, but through national listservs, a typical way to recruit people for a survey. Unfortunately, I'll also mention that we sent our survey out in February and March of 2020, which meant I think that people probably had a lot of other things on their mind than responding to surveys. But at any rate, if we could go to the next screen, in our survey, we had about 50-50 mentors and mentees, and but then now we're looking over at sort of some of the way that their responses fill out. So if you look at this screen, you can see that overall, I do need to say that. So going back to the timing of our survey, we only had 45 responses to our survey. And so I think we need to be very clear that our data is not generalizable in any way or statistically significant. But having said that, we did treat the data more like focus group or usability findings, and believe that the information our respondents shared with us, and we're going to be going into that in a little bit more depth, points to issues in cross-cultural mentoring that deserve certainly acknowledgement and hopefully further attention. So with that in mind, here's sort of this chart of overall satisfaction. And as you can see, it's not 100% satisfied, but certainly people are more, at least somewhat satisfied. Up into the majority were very satisfied, but with some pockets down here in the lower end. But if we look at that same information broken down by mentor and mentee, you start to see a different story kind of emerging. So you've got the mentors on the left side, and that group is still overall pretty satisfied. There is some dissatisfaction there, but mostly, again, very strongly satisfied. Whereas with the proteges or mentees, you start to really see that there are very differing levels of satisfaction with their experience and with their relationship. So now if we look at the next slide, which is by ethnicity, again, you start to see some interesting things about what our respondents were telling us. So if you look at the white Caucasian group, which is sort of in the middle there, again, you see pretty strong satisfaction, whereas with some of the other groups, you're seeing a much more mixed experience with cross-cultural mentoring. So we did some further analysis in our paper of the results. And but this gives you a sense, I think, of what our main finding was, which was that basically white mentors are more satisfied with their cross-cultural mentoring experiences than their BIPOC mentees. This finding was critical to our belief that there is a lot of work to be done toward the ideal of an inclusive mentoring experience for all of our colleagues.
So now we have a good idea of who exactly was and wasn't satisfied in their cross-cultural mentoring relationship. But do we understand why their satisfaction levels varied? From our survey results, we were able to identify open-ended responses about participant satisfaction levels and then group those comments into common themes that were related to either programmatic factors or interpersonal factors that impacted the relationship. Some examples of the programmatic issues include factors like availability. So was the mentor or the mentee committed to the relationship for the duration of the program or beyond? Were mentoring schedules established and maintained throughout the process? Did each individual commit their time to complete assigned tasks between meetings? Issue number 2, organizational proximity. Did partners have an administrative relationship, or were they even from the same institution? Issue number 3, the pairing process. Were considerations such as race, gender, sexual orientation, were those used to determine partners? And how much input was there from partners in the actual pairing process? Number 4, scope and structure. Were there some goals established in the relationship? And then if so, what strides were made to help reach those goals? And then training and preparation. Was information provided to partners to prepare them for the relationship beforehand, particularly as it relates to cross-cultural mentoring and then those best practices surrounding that? Those were some of the frequently mentioned programmatic issues that impacted a person's satisfaction. Now let's look at some of the interpersonal issues. And these included factors like advocacy. Was there a willingness to use positional and personal power to support the partner? Age and career difference. Did an age or career difference diminish or enhance the ability to have a productive relationship? Cross-cultural competence. Was there a willingness to recognize the impact of race, ethnicity, of self and others? Was there an awareness of one's own bias in the relationship? Were partners willing to engage in topics involving race, ethnicity, culture, and other differences? Personal connection. So did partners even like each other? It's a very important factor in a mentoring relationship. Was there even some connection there? Were they able to develop a friendship? Could they find common ground outside of their professional interest? And then finally, and this is probably the most frequently mentioned interpersonal factor, and that is the issue of trust. Were partners comfortable with authentic expressions regarding their experience within the profession? Were they actually able to trust one another? Got another survey for you, and I'm sharing the code again just in case you closed your screen and you still need it. But same process as last time. And this is going to be a little quicker because it's just one question. So it's one question, but you can choose up to 3 answers, okay? So I'm going to advance, trusting everybody has had a chance to scan that again. So here's the question. Thinking about your cross-cultural mentoring experience and how you rated your level of satisfaction earlier in this presentation, what do you think were some contributing factors that impacted your overall satisfaction? And again, you can choose up to 3 answers. You got about 20 seconds to think about it. Uh-oh, didn't get any answers on that. Do I need to run the poll back again, just in case?
Did the QR, can you put the QR code back? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I'll share it again.
Yes, we need to hit send, yeah.
Yes. Okay, I'll go back. And yes, because you are picking multiple, when you finish this one, you'll have to hit send at the bottom. Apologize for that. Okay, so scope, structure, training, oh, it's changing, okay, cross-cultural competence, personal connection. I just realized I cannot see trust, it's off the screen. Okay, so got a little answers in a little bit of everywhere, okay. Okay. Okay, just reviewing your results in this setting doesn't give us much context in our initial study. Doesn't give us much context, excuse me. In our initial study, we were able to look at a respondent's collective answers to get a bigger picture of the person, their cross-cultural mentoring experience, their career goals, their expectations for the relationship, and the structure of the program they were involved in, all of which play a role in a person's satisfaction. In addition to the programmatic and interpersonal issues at hand, our research findings showed us that there were a correlation between race, gender, role, and satisfaction. As my colleague previously mentioned, we noticed that there seemed to be higher satisfaction rates for white or Caucasian female mentors, while female mentors of color were less satisfied with their cross-cultural mentoring experience. Although our survey findings revealed a trend in participant satisfaction, the raw data analysis alone still doesn't really tell a complete story of these cross-cultural mentoring experiences, hence the need for additional follow-up. So from the survey, we were able to identify 10 participants who were willing to take part in follow-up interviews, giving us a more in-depth look into their unique experiences.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Latisha Reynolds, and I'm the Assistant Head of Research Assistance and Instruction at the University of Louisville currently. I have been at the University of Louisville for, probably about 23 years now. And I started as a staff person, and I've jumped around to different positions. I've been involved with a lot of our DEI initiatives, and also our residency program. And so also very interested in mentoring, because I've been both mentor and mentee, and both have been very rewarding experiences. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the interviews, starting with just processes and logistics. Just a few things I wanted to mention. We conducted the interviews through the Zoom platform, which allowed us to see and interact with the participants in real time. We also recorded the audio, and then we each typed up the interview notes individually. And as far as the participants, there were 10 survey respondents, as I think was mentioned previously, but there were 10 respondents who indicated they would be willing to participate in an interview. And we were able to actually schedule to meet with 9 of them. And the participant demographics included mostly females, and there were 3 people listing their ethnicity as African American or Black, 3 listed as Hispanic, Latinx, 2 listed as white or Caucasian, 1 listed as Asian and Pacific Islander. And then the group also indicated their satisfaction level. And so among the 9 interviewees, 5 were very satisfied, 1 was somewhat satisfied, and 3 were very unsatisfied. The group was also mostly equally split, I'll say, between mentees and mentors. There were 5 mentees and 4 mentors. And we developed several open-ended questions to ask the interviewees. So we hope to dive deeper into some of the questions from the survey. And the questions varied based on the participants' answers to certain survey questions. For example, you'll see that question at the top about satisfaction. So if a participant stated that they were satisfied or unsatisfied, we asked a follow-up question to delve into the reasons for that or why they felt that way. And so there were other questions we asked as well, based on, you know, other follow-ups or things that we wanted to know more about. And so these questions here are just 4 of the questions, but we had a total of about 10 that we asked the participants. And so now I'll talk a little bit about some of the prominent themes. So some of the main interpersonal themes were trust, cross-cultural competence, and personal connection. And then related to the programmatic themes, we had pairing, availability, time, commitment, and program structure. And we thought it might be of interest to share a few gleanings or experiences from a respondent who was very satisfied, and then a respondent who was very unsatisfied, so that you can kind of see the differences here. Both participants in this example were mentees. So the very satisfied participant was able to receive advice as a new librarian, including those related to their career and also related to publishing. And they also had good personal connection and friendship with their mentor. And the mentor also had a similar background, interests, and experiences. So that was the very satisfied participant. And the very unsatisfied participant did not feel that they could be honest with feedback about the issues with the mentoring relationship. They had communication and availability issues with their mentor. The guidelines for the program were unclear. The mentee did not feel they could have honest discussion about cross-cultural differences. And they had a wish list and said that they wish there were a better screening process for mentors and more structures and guidelines within the program. And so after considering the research results from the survey and the interviews, we wanted to provide some guidelines or recommendations for developing more inclusive relationships. And so first of all, a solid program structure that considers the needs of librarians of color is foundational to a successful mentoring experience. And there should be training related to cross-cultural competencies, as well as guidelines for carrying out the roles of both mentor and mentees in the relationship. And the pairing process should not be an afterthought, but it should be well thought out and developed. Participants might complete a form listing their interests, preferences, and/or needs, and that can help assist the program organizers with pairing. So that's just one example. And the meeting schedule should be clearly defined and agreed upon by the mentor and mentee. And the program should be structured so that the participants understand the goals around communication and can work to discuss needs, expectations, and set ground rules for the relationship. And then finally, opportunities to create community with other mentors and mentees should be incorporated into the program from the beginning. And this came up, this was something that mentors and mentees both brought up.
Okay, so that actually concludes our prepared presentation. So